Hello everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the Field of Skye Knitting and Making podcast. I'm happy you're here. Thanks for watching. If you've watched any of my other episodes, there are 3. Obviously, this is episode 4. I'm just like so excited to even have a 4th of anything because I've been struggling with being consistent with things. Anyways, the other 3 episodes I filmed in front of my piano with a bunch of plants, and we're in a different room now. I wanted to try doing it in my office. I get pretty decent light in here, and I've got some pretty art on the wall now as of this morning. So I just wanted to try a different space. Hopefully this is okay. I'm a little bit disorganized this time. The last few episodes I've been able to take the time to make a list of everything I wanted to talk about at least, and today I don't have that. I didn't take the time to do it. I just wanted to sit down and start. So it might be a little disorganized. We'll see how it goes. But if it's a hot mess, I appreciate you sticking with me on it. Hopefully it'll still be fun to watch. And yeah. So let's start with what I'm wearing. This is the Super Secret Crop Top by Jessie Maed Designs, and it's very wrong. Meaning, my fault. The pattern is great. This was the very first knitted garment I made myself last year, first ever, and it was from last year, so that tells you how new I am to knitting garments. But and I of course wanted to go with like using multiple yarns, doing some striping, even though I'd never done a ribbing pattern with stripes. So all of this is so new, but I chose the wrong needle size and the wrong size in the pattern, so it is way oversized, which I kind of like. It just gives it a different vibe, I think, and I can obviously still wear it. I would wear it with nothing under it in the summer, but I'm wearing it with this because it's just, you know, a little cooler today. Here's the back. I'll try to turn around. It's very close up. But yeah, it's made from cotton, very soft cotton, and cotton's been interesting for me to work with. I don't know why, but did I even introduce myself? I don't even know if I introduced myself. My name is Rachel. I live in North Carolina. I have a husband and a 2-year-old. What is wrong with me? I'm telling you, I'm so disorganized today. Anyways, all that to say, because I live in North Carolina, when I knit, and I knit this in the summer, I was just like, oh, I need to knit everything in cotton because then it'll be cooler for the summer heat, since it's like 90s most summer days here, at least the, you know, hot summer days, it's 90s. So, and lots of humidity. So I thought cotton would be good, and it is good. But it's also, depending on the kind of cotton you use and your, how thick it is, and yeah, it can actually be really heavy. And since then I've learned that actually using a lighter wool can be even more breathable than cotton, as long as it's really, really lightweight and you use kind of like a looser gauge. So I don't know, I might try making some summer tops with just like merino wool and see how that goes this year. But anyways, so this is my first cotton top I made last year, and yeah, I did wear it a lot this summer. And cotton's tricky too, I wanted to say, because it doesn't hold its shape like wool does. So wool, you know, you stretch it out when you wear stuff, but you wash it just goes back to form. And cotton, like, kind of, a couple of my tops have kind of gone back to form, but not really. Especially these like ribbed tops, like you can see how stretched out this is. Like it's just completely stretched out, which again is fine. It's just a different vibe from what it was intended to be. So I do think, and the pattern, the Jessie Maed pattern calls for some sort of double fingering weight or DK wool. So I do think that wool just holds its shape better for something like this that's supposed to be fitted. So anyways, but I still love this shirt. It's special to me because it's the first one I made myself, and I learned a lot. And even choosing pattern sizes, like measuring myself, learning how to measure myself and choose the right pattern size has been kind of a steep learning curve for me. And I think part of that is because I just don't know my body very well. So I've learned a lot about that through making tops. And even if I didn't get very usable garments out of the process initially, it's just, you learn so much just by figuring it out. And, you know, obviously it helps to have a good, well-written pattern, which this is well-written. So anyways, yeah, the link to this pattern will be in the description if you want to see how it's supposed to look. But yeah, so let's move on. That's what I'm wearing. I do have 2 finished things to show you. The first one being my starry, is it starry or starring sweater by Stephen West. And I started this last October, I think is what I remember writing down. And I had to put it down because I did a bunch of gift knitting and finished it up the past few weeks. I will say it was really, really fun to knit. The construction was so unique. I've just never knit I mean, I don't have a lot of experience anyways, but it was very, I think it was still unique even if you have knit a lot of sweaters. It's not like a bottom up or top down thing. It's like a start on one sleeve and go around and go to the, yeah, it's interesting. But, so the process was really, really great. The end result is not as, I'm not quite as happy with it. I remember being really, really sad when I first finished this, which I don't know if y'all have experienced this, getting sad when you finish a project, either because you're disappointed with how it turned out, or maybe you're sad that it's just over. Like you really enjoyed knitting it so much that you're sad it's over. And I just sort of have I tend to have like a crash, like almost like the sugar high and a sugar crash. It's like an adrenaline high and then an adrenaline crash after finishing a project, because I've just anticipated the excitement of like seeing how it's going to turn out. And even if it turns out really great, I still get a bit of a crash because it's over. I don't know. Can anyone relate to that? Or am I just weird? But I was a little disappointed with how this turned out just because of the way it fits now. And it's my own fault because I used thrifted yarns that, you know, it was hard to match gauge perfectly. I didn't even take a gauge on any of the other yarns except the very first yarn I started with. So I'm pretty sure the gauge is all different throughout because I used a lot of different colors. And I accidentally used a bigger needle size on the back panel than I did on the front. So the back ended up a lot longer than it was supposed to. So anyways, I'm gonna show a picture of what it's supposed to look like. This is the Stephen West example. And then I'm gonna show a clip of what it looks like on me. But yeah, like if you can see the triangle front, and I'll kind of hold it up. I don't know. Yeah. This triangle piece is supposed to be a lot more dramatic. It's supposed to be like so much longer than the back, but there's the back and it's just so long, and it's because I used the wrong size needle. I used a size 7 needle for the front and a size 8 for the back, and I think because the yarn was slightly bigger anyways, it just made it so much longer. But honestly, it's still a very comfortable, soft sweater. I've washed it since, so it went through the washing machine fine. I did wash it on Delicate, but it's so big I didn't even put it in like a Delicate's bag. I just sort of ran the cycle on Delicate, and yeah, and it looks fine. I still have some ends I need to finish weaving in, but yeah, so it'll be comfy. I'll probably just, the triangle is awkward now because it's just like kind of small and weird. So I'll probably just tuck the front in because I wear a lot of high-waisted pants. I'll just kind of tuck the front in. And yeah, again, I'll show you in the video how I'm wearing it. But yeah, but it's done and I'm happy it's done. We have had a few cold days since finishing it, which has been nice, but I think the majority of my wear in it will probably be this coming winter. We are mid-February now, and I'm sure we'll get a few more cold days, but it's definitely starting to head towards spring here in North Carolina. So yeah, but anyways, this was a great experience knitting this, and I'm excited because I bought this pattern as part of an ebook. So it has, I think it has 10 total Stephen West patterns in it, and I'm just excited to kind of pick the next one and try it. Probably again with thrift store yarn, because all of his stuff is so weird in a good way, and I want to be able to use lots of different colors and stuff, and I just can't afford to buy tons of different colors in my nicer wools. So eventually I'll have enough scraps, wool scraps, to do that with, but for now it's thrift store yarns for me, which is just fine. So yeah, so that's one finished object. And then last episode, I did kind of a new segment called Mend and something. Oh, Mending and Remaking, I think is what it's called. It's a bit of a mouthful, but I showed y'all some socks, 2 pairs of socks that are shorties that weren't fitting me right for some reason, and they've just been sort of tucked away with the rest of my yarn because I knew I needed to fix them. And I just really have been wanting socks, and I actually just this past week threw away a couple of my regular socks, like my store-bought socks that I've had for years and years, because they finally have holes in them. And sorry, I need some water. And so I've been really wanting more hand knit socks to replace those store-bought socks. And I just had these 2 basically finished pairs of socks in with my yarn that needed just to be fixed because the cuffs weren't right and they were falling down. So I did get 1 pair finished, and I'll show you in my whip section what I chose to do with the other pair. But let me see if this can focus on this. Yeah, there we go. So I added basically all of these rows and then another cuff, and it's definitely longer now. It's definitely longer now than a shorty sock. I think it's gonna come up over my shoe a bit more than I originally intended, but I actually realized while I was trying to fix this that I think the problem is also that they're slightly too big. Like I've got 56 stitches going around the foot, so it's knit like 56 stitches all the way down around, but I think that might be slightly big on me because my gauge is, I'm such a loose knitter with my continental method that I think I need to go down to 52 stitches and try that in a sock. And then I do use the fish lip kiss heel. What is wrong with me? Fish lips kiss heel for the heel. And I think I really enjoy knitting it, but I do think it's a bit shallow. So I kind of wonder if the combination of like it being too big, so the cuff itself around my foot was too big, and then the heel being a bit shallow, so it just was pulling my sock down, like the combination of those 2 things. And socks are fun. I don't know, they are fun, but I meant they're interesting because everyone's foot is so different, weirdly enough, and you just sort of have to play with how many stitches work for around your foot. Even if you take a gauge and go off that, it's not always perfect, just because like the shape of your heel might be different, or the width of your, I don't know, the length of your toes or whatever. So and socks that fit well are just so nice, and socks that don't fit well can be so frustrating. So it is worth it to kind of do some trial and error to get it right. And then once you do get it right, I just feel like it's going to be so satisfying. But either way, these still fit fine. And because I made the cuff even taller, I don't think it's going to go anywhere in my shoe. So they just need to be blocked. And obviously I've got some strings. And then these are done. I can start wearing them, which is very exciting. But those are my 2 finished things. This pair of socks that I finally fixed, and my starring sweater by Stephen West. So now on to whips, and I'm gonna start with my most exciting whip that y'all know about. It's my Magical Sun Cardigan. I am still knitting the back panel, the intarsia back panel. Here's my, I am past the bottom half now, so I'm up on the top half. So this is the top half of my design, and I am about right here. Right at that, I'm at the like last row of that blue strip. So I've got like this up to go. And I think that's row like 77, and there's 120 rows going up. So 40 some more rows. And then the back panel's done, and that's basically most of the work. And then I just have to do some more normal knitting for the front pieces and the sleeves. But I'm just so excited. So let me show you how it's looking. I don't have it pinned this time because it's a bit longer. I didn't think I needed to pin it. There's a crazy amount of strings. This is going to be interesting figuring out how to take care of all those strings once it's done. I can tell you this though, I'm not going to be weaving all those strings in. I've been weaving as I go as much as I can, but yeah, so here we go. The sun's really starting to take shape. And I think I told y'all last time that this big brown middle of it kind of looks like a sunflower now with the brown middle, but I'm gonna do some embroidery, dang it, what's it called? Where you embroider over knitting and it's the same, it'll look like they're knitted stitches, but I'm just gonna fill in the colors that you see here with embroidery after the fact, because the intarsia is already so much that I didn't want to do kind of like the smaller fiddly bits with intarsia too. So I'll do that. I'll do embroidery on the middle, so it's not going to look like a big brown sun. But this is how it looks so far. I've got my swirl here. Curves with knitting is always kind of tricky because, you know, knitting just goes back and forth. So it's like trying to figure out curves on a graph takes some playing with, but I think it's turned out well. And yeah, I'm still just loving working on it, which is great because I still have a lot of work left to do. But yeah, here's the back if you're curious. I'm always curious to know what the back of stuff like this looks like. So this is the back. You see like where the stitches kind of cross over, that's where my color changes are. And then yeah, and all these ends. I'm probably just gonna tie them off and have knots and strings hanging on the inside of my cardigan because, you know, who cares? So that's my progress on that. It's been really fun. I haven't done as much on it as I could have the past couple weeks because I've just been working on those socks and trying to finish up that Stephen West sweater, but I'm excited to just like really get going on this again. Okay, my next work in progress I wanted to show you, was that other pair of socks that I mentioned. So I decided, let me find the one I haven't. So this is that other, it's just like more of a plain red sock. I decided to turn this pair of socks, I've already started on this one, pulling it out, into just a completely different pair of socks because, oh, excuse me, I have this yarn that it's a mess because it needs to be pulled out. But yeah, I have this shirt I've been frogging and I really wanted to use this yarn for something else. Look how pretty it is. This is Madeline Tosh. I think it's called Video Baby. And the video is not, or the light isn't showing how colorful it really is. But it's very colorful, the speckles are very colorful. And I just decided I wanted to turn this into another pair of just like, not shorty socks, but just regular socks. But I'm gonna make them in a different way than I've done before. So I have started them, I'll show you. So here's my cuff. So I'm gonna do the cuff, heel and toe in this yarn, and then do the main, like the leg and foot of the sock in this yarn. So I think it'll look pretty, the combination there. Focus, there you go. So, I don't know if any of y'all have made socks this way, but it's a really good way of just sort of like making scrappy socks, I guess. So I'm basically gonna just knit one long tube. Start with a cuff, I'm just gonna knit all of this yarn into one long tube. So I'll just finish off the yarn and won't have any left over. And then I'll knit the other socks cuff on the other end of the tube. I'll cut the tube in the middle and finish it off with toes on those unfinished ends. And then I will cut into where the heel needs to go and do an afterthought heel. And I've been wanting to try that for a while. And then another podcaster I follow, I think his name is Martin. He's Knit 365 blog is his YouTube channel. He's really fun to watch. He just finished a pair of socks like that, where he did a big tube, cut into it to add the cuff, toe, and heel. And I'm just starting with the cuffs, so I don't have to add cuffs afterwards. The cuffs will already be done. So that'll be fun. It'll just be another sock experiment. I am doing these socks 52 inches around to try to see if that fits me better. So this is a 52 inch 2x2 ribbed cuff. Honestly, it's hard to see the definition because it's coming out of this sock and the yarn is still wavy, but that'll block out. I've done it before and it'll block out. So yeah, hopefully I'll make some more progress on the socks. And I honestly kind of really wanted to do the tube thing because I felt like, it avoids, sorry, I shouldn't talk while I'm bending over. It avoids the second sock syndrome where you finish a whole sock and then you're bummed to start the next sock. You gotta start all over. So that way I'll kind of be knitting both socks at the same time. But also, I just really wanted something that I could just grab and sit and just do a lot of not thinking knitting. Because this cardigan sweater is pretty intense and I love it, but it's not knitting I can just pick up and go. It's not portable at all, and I need a portable project. So that's what this is. This is my portable project, and it's living in my little cockatoo bag. All right, 2 more works in progress, and then I think we're probably done. But I started a crochet project. I've just been really wanting to crochet, and I think that's because I started crocheting my bind-offs, or not crocheting them, but just using a crochet hook to bind off my knitting it makes kind of a stretchy bind-off, and it looks the same as if it was knitted, more or less. I haven't been able to tell a difference. And it's just so much faster to use a crochet hook. So just using the crochet hook on my knitting has made me want to actually do a crochet project. So I started something with my thrifted acrylic yarns that, like when I get yarn from the thrift store, it's usually bigger quantity. Like it'll be a whole skein of some color that I like, that I'm just like, oh, I might want to add this color into different projects, but I don't need a full skein of, this random color for the most part, especially if it's not like a super soft yarn that I can use in garments. If it's just like, yeah. So I'm trying to, I'm looking at my yarn stash. I have 2 medium-sized bins and 1 small bin that all my thrift store yarn lives in. And I want to get it down to just the 2 medium bins, one with like my DK worsted weight sized yarns and one with my more chunkier weaving, like good for weaving yarns, because I want to get into weaving at some point soon. So yeah. So this scrappy blanket is what I started, and it's a corner to corner crochet blanket with this kind of shell stitch pattern. It's just like this free pattern I found on Pinterest, and it's been really great. I've never done a corner to corner crochet project before either, so I'm learning some new crochet techniques with it. But this is it so far. So I'm basically just pulling out yarn. So there's that. I started that purple corner, so I've done this much so far. Obviously been in the mood to crochet if I've done this much. But I'm basically just pulling out like different colors that I really like, but I don't need an entire, like I don't need an entire skein of this hot pink. Or, you know, I will add, I'll use the hot pink at little bits in different projects, but I don't need a whole skein of it. And I honestly just don't have the storage to have a ton of different colors and they all be full skeins. So I'm using parts of skeins just to like use up some of the bulk of my yarn in a big blanket and getting my crochet fix at the same time. So this is kind of a long-term project, just sort of as I feel like crocheting, I can grab this and pare down my stash this way. So yeah, that's been really fun. I'm using, these are mostly worsted weight yarns, some lighter yarns, some more DK or sport weight, and I'm using a size 8 hook that is a bit, the size 8 hook is a little bit too big for my really light yarns and a bit too small for the bigger yarns, but I want the hook size at least to stay consistent. And then, you know, the yarns will kind of fluctuate between being heavier or lighter, but you know, that's the beauty of kind of a scrappy project, is a little unpredictable and you just don't know what you're going to get. And it's kind of safe to do that in a blanket instead of something you're going to wear. I actually do have some more scrappy project ideas for my non-thrifted yarns, because I've got scraps from, you know, garments like this that I've made from my nicer yarns. And I actually think I want to make a shawl out of my extra fingering weight yarns, because I've been wanting a shawl, but I know I don't want to do all that knitting with just a couple colors. I just want to make it like really interesting, at least for my first one. So I don't know when I'm going to start that. I need to get more scraps accumulated, but I do have a plan for my more like fingering weight scraps. I try to save as much of the yarn as I can and use them in creative projects, so I don't waste very much. But yeah, so one more work in progress, and it's not knitting or crocheting. I actually did do some sewing, and I always forget with sewing that the majority of the time spent is actually on the cutting. For me, it's on the figuring and then the cutting and then ironing mixed up in there, because I don't really use patterns, so I have to figure out what I'm doing. But this is kind of my project bag plan. So I've got an upholstery fabric, kind of a patchwork thing here. I want to add a handle in here and then have a drawstring section up here. So I've got several different elements I'm trying to sew together and figure out. But sewing just is so fun because it's faster than knitting and crocheting. At least for me it is. And you kind of like piece things together, and the order you sew things in matters. But anyways, yeah, I feel like I'm building with fabric when I sew, and that's fun to me. But I did want to show you this. I pretty much only cut to size my pieces. So it's not very exciting yet, but here's some of my pieces I've cut. This is the upholstery, thrifted upholstery fabric that's going to go on the bottom. So it's going to be a very muted greens and browns kind of bag, which honestly isn't as much my thing anymore. I really like kind of these like brighter colors, but I have this fabric. I really need a project bag, so I'm just gonna do it. But what I'm really excited about with this bag are the handles, because I've been trying out painting on some fabric just to see what happens with it. I've got watercolor paints, and I have a 2-year-old that needs to do activities. So a few days, the past couple weeks, I have laid out just like some thrifted white cotton fabric that, you know, I'm not necessarily attached to, and pulled out the paints, and we just sort of had a painting picnic. I just used that fabric to make some handles. Well, they're not made yet, but okay, there we go. So you can see kind of the texture that the watercolor did on it. I just like love these sections here. Sorry, it keeps focusing on my face. But yeah, so these won't match the bags. They don't match my fabric. But again, for a scrappy project bag, what does it matter? And these handles are just going to make me really happy. They're so beautiful. So I'm really excited to paint some more fabric. My end goal with the painting on fabric was that I wanted to do some embroidery over top of it after painting. So now that I know that you can do that, I'm excited to actually do some embroidery on top of it. But in the meantime, I, had this trial fabric and I'm excited to put it in a project. So yeah, we'll see if I'm able to pull out my sewing machine the next couple weeks. It's sitting here behind me, and finish up this bag, but I'm really excited to have it, and I'm excited to use up what I've been using up. Get this fabric out of my closet, my craft closet. One of these days I need to just show y'all, take y'all on a tour of just like all my craft stuff, just so you can see how I have stuff organized and kept things as minimal as possible, because we have a small space, but I'm also definitely minimalist at heart, and it's really hard being a creative person with very physical like very tactile hobbies that need supplies. Like, I need colors of yarn, but I don't want to just have a whole closet full of yarn, because psychologically that's really, really stressful to me. So yeah, but I still need options. So how do I manage that, the quantity thing? Yeah, that's definitely been trial and error. Let me see. So yeah, I guess just future plans, hoping to continue working on all my works in progress. I don't really have any plans to necessarily finish. I would love to finish the project bags. There's 2 of them. I have pieces cut for 2 bags. I would love to finish those 2 project bags the next 2 weeks, so before the next podcast, so I can start using them. And I do have something I want to start. Now that I'm done with the starring sweater, let me just grab this yarn and I'll show you. All right, so I have 3 skeins of this very beautiful yarn. It's not really my color. Let me see if I can show you the label. Focus. So the color is called Forest Fairy, and it's a sock yarn, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, and I have 3 of these. So I have this pattern in mind for this that I've been wanting to make for forever. It's a Jessie Maed pattern called the Framework Bralette. If I am on it with my editing, I will put a picture of it here. But I think I want to start this. So I need to do a gauge and figure out what my size is. Because making tops for me, especially fitted tops, I really need them because I need the support here, but they're really tricky because my bust measurement to my rib right underneath measurement is so, they're so different that I might actually have to use 2 different sizes from the pattern and just calculate kind of my own version. But yeah, so I really want to start the Framework Bralette, and maybe I'll be able to do that in the next 2 weeks once I get a gauge and do some calculating and measuring, because that one is basically like a bra, which is why I want to do it, because I struggle so much with bras and I want to use it as an actual bra. So yeah, and this pretty purple I just feel like will make me so happy to wear, even if it doesn't go with much else in my wardrobe. You won't know because it'll be under stuff. So yeah, I guess that's a future plan. I'd love to start the next couple weeks. But yeah, I think that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching. And yeah, if you would comment below and let me know if there's anything you'd be interested in me sharing about what I do. And I would love to share more of what you're actually interested in. And for now, I'll just keep doing this, keep making episodes. But hopefully I'll see you in another 2 weeks, and have a great day.